Rock. It's the Review a New podcast. I'm DJ.
I'm Evan.
And this is the podcast where we typically take a second look at our or your favorite albums or movies. And if you'd like to make a request, head on over to Ko-fi.com/rapcritic. Dude, I feel like I've really got my phrasing down for these intros. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, today's request is by Dr. Goatman. Thank you so much for your request for the second
Have we been
Matrix
saying
movie.
it the whole... Are you
No, I'm just messing with you. Yeah.
Oh. I don't know. Is it like Dr.
Joke about it.
Chemin?
Yeah, and then we joke about it. It's like, what if it's Goat Man or something like that? Goat Man. But yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Goatman, for your request. So we are looking at Matrix Reloaded. Oh, you guys, the Matrix is back. It's super serial this time. They're like super serial about like the philosophy. You've really got to like pay attention because it's like really deep, okay? You know, in between the 45-minute fight scenes where absolutely no philosophy is happening, you know?
Those action sequences are so long.
Exhausting.
That's why.
Remember this. I gotta take off. I'm wearing a coat right now. I gotta take it off because we're about to get into this. Because this is one of those I remember as a kid. This movie and being like the first movie, of course, revolutionary, incredible. Yeah, it has its flaws or whatever, but who gives a shit? It's the fucking Matrix, you know. But when you get to the second movie, it's so just like, I remember as a kid watching this movie and getting to that point with the Smiths, the million Smiths going to fight him, and having that feeling in my head of, man, they really want me to think this is epic, but I am just exhausted, like halfway through this fight scene, you know? When it's just like, uh-oh, here comes more, and it's like, who cares? Like, you know?
I had crafts in my hands. And I think that greatly contributed to my enjoyment of the movie because I could kind of tune out when it was the, half-hour long CGI fight scene.
And you know what's so crazy? Like, the more I watch this movie, the more I'm like, there's not a bad movie in here if it wasn't about, like, Neo and Trinity and was about, like, all of the other characters in the background and was one movie and just had, like, the part 1 and part 2 together and it was just about Zion fighting for their life. Because the more I look at this movie, the more it's like Neo and Trinity, they basically have nothing to do with most of what the main crux of, like, Morpheus trying to get the Nebuchadnezzar and trying to get like, it's just a tangential plot, honestly. The whole thing of, like, Smith becoming unplugged and now he's really gonna get you.
Well,
like,
that was like the Wachowskis pulling a Marvel right there.
Yeah,
and
really.
It was like, and tune in next time, kids.
Right. It's like, are you kidding me? I remember, again, what was it, 2003? So I was maybe like 12 or 13. And I remember as a kid being like, what in the world is this? Like, you know, when you're like, your kid, you're still supposed to be dumb and enjoy the thing. You're still supposed to be like, oh boy, can't wait for next part 2. But I remember being like, wait, that guy barely played into this. And now I'm supposed to care about him now at the tail end. But I don't even, you know what I mean?
He just popped up a couple times looking sketchy. Yeah. So I gotta say, I have, for all of the Matrix movies, I have very cloudy recollections of when I've seen them and how much and under what circumstances. Partly because I think they were on TV a lot back when I was a kid and we had TV, and I just like would catch part of them on TV or something, or it'd be edited, or I'd only see part of it.
Honestly, I was in high school where me and my friends would watch these sequels of the originals, we cycled them right next to the Quentin Tarantino movies.
Yeah, like I only watched, I think, I didn't see any of them in theaters. And I think I saw the first one as a teenager, and I think I saw the second and third one because I was in high school when they came out, but I don't remember specifics. And the weird thing is, like, if you had asked me, like, what happens in the movie, I wouldn't have been able to tell you. But then as I was watching it, I was like, this all feels super familiar. I feel like I've seen this really recently, and I have no idea. I could not tell you.
Is Jada Pinkett Smith in the first one? I don't think she is.
I don't think she is either.
She's just such a strong presence in this movie.
Yeah.
It feels like she was there.
Well, because she's, like, not connected to the okay, so I feel like we need to back up a little bit.
Yeah.
So the thing is, and so here's my, like, I sat down and all I remembered is everybody is always talking about, like, the Matrix 2 and the Matrix 3 are really, really bad, right? And so we got this requested. I'm, like, not looking forward to it. I'm like, okay, I gotta sit down and watch this. And like I said, I had crafts in my hands, but I actually did enjoy watching this. But what happened at the beginning was, like, I was thinking a lot at the very beginning because you jump in and you have this, like, crazy action sequence with
Well,
like
the very first action scene, which is so like, by the way, just doubling down on the, hey, is it cool for our protagonist to just be killing people who unprovoked, who didn't do anything to them? Like,
well,
she
and
just
so
comes in with a motorcycle,
Yeah.
throwing it at this, like, you
So
know.
we'll come to
well,
that.
they're guards, so I guess they're bad.
Yeah, well, the whole thing. There's a lot of confusion in this movie about who's a human and who isn't.
Yeah, and then also there's just like these fake outs that are really annoying, where it's just like, oh, that was actually a dream sequence, and oh, you thought that was happening? Oh, that was actually a dream
Yeah, 'cause I
sequence,
believe-
but it was a plot point, so maybe Neo.
Well, and it's with the Matrix and then dreams and then the Matrix. It's always like what's real and what's not.
It's like it's one of those things where it's like, I get the idea of movies in general doing the thing of like, oh, we're playing with like what's really happening. But it's like, it's as you watch the movie, it starts to feel like you're not doing we're playing with the idea to make you think of it. It feels like no, you're cheating this so that you can have it both ways of, oh, well, he's able to get by us, but we don't actually need to explain how the hell this character is able to get so close. Because it was a dream, maybe, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so that first action sequence with Trinity is a dream, right? Because then she wakes up in bed with Neo. I also I turned it on and it was set to Spanish, and I didn't notice at first until it was Morpheus and Link, and they were very obviously dubbed in Spanish. But at first, I just assumed that they were in a Spanish-speaking part of the Matrix. So it's this action sequence that has Trinity like flying through the air, and there's the bullets like going in slow motion through the air with the little smoke, the little contrails. Yeah, and so and then Trinity and Neo wake up and they're in Zion and they're like they're talking, and there's like Morpheus and Link and there's all these characters and they're all like in, which by the way, Zion looks so depressing. Like I get it's like
this is what we're fighting for.
It's like, I mean, I get, okay, it's the last bastion of humanity and it has to be underground because the machines have messed up the surface and stuff, but it's like, it's so depressing. It's like you live in a cave, you live in a gray cave.
And what was it? It's like, I'm of two minds, because like on one hand, it's like, okay, it's a dream sequence, and the idea is like, it's a premonition of what things could possibly be to come. But on the other hand, it's just like don't you just hate the movie fake out, especially at the beginning of the movie where it's like, oh, all of that stuff that just happened actually didn't. And then, like I said, it wouldn't be so bad, but like the next fake out that happens is the one where it felt like, okay, so whoever the heck that guy is who looks like an evil guy because he, has sunken in eyes and, you can see his cheekbones very prominently, so he's bad.
You talking about Bane? That's
yeah.
Yeah, the guy that ends up.
He gets caught by one of the Smiths, but in that moment when they show that scene happening of him going like, oh no, he got caught by one of the Smiths, and then Neo wakes up again. Oh, was that a dream? And I was just like, okay, can we stop doing this?
Because that's a plot point.
That actually matters.
I definitely I had to look at the Wikipedia article after I watched the movie because there were things where I was like, I'm not sure I followed the plot here.
Yeah.
But so what I was thinking about is in terms of sequels, my personal opinion about sequels in general is that a sequel should be able to more or less stand on its own. You should be able to watch it and enjoy it without knowing anything about with
right. You could be like, oh, and so, it fills you in enough so that you can just go on with the story.
My feelings about this come from growing up in the 90s and the early 2000s in a small town where our video store and our library didn't always have everything. And so I very often watched movies or read books that were the second or third or fourth in a series. And I feel like I feel like any work of art should be like, I don't think you should have to do homework to be able to appreciate a standalone work of art. Right. So with, and we had just watched The Matrix fairly recently.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know how this would land on me if I had not seen The Matrix. But it definitely felt like there's a lot here that is relying on you having seen The Matrix.
Honestly, I gotta say, like, as someone who's watched the movie, I think it's actually not helpful because you start to think about how the first movie unfolded, the movie that you enjoyed, and then you think, wait, if Agent Smith is just back, and the things that Neo did to fight Agent Smith, they didn't matter now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was like,
and the other thing that I wanted to say is this is a very different kind of movie because even though like the genre is technically the same, the Matrix, the first movie is, as we discussed, it's arguably a pitch perfect or nearly pitch perfect trans allegory. And it's about, just in general, it's about like discovering yourself. It's about
right. That's
like,
what the function of it is. The philosophy is the steering point of the part of the narrative.
Yeah, and the plot of the movie is, it's got that very hero's journey thing of Neo starts out being an office worker in a more or less ordinary world, and then the mysterious strange people in the sunglasses, which the sunglasses, like the fact that it was like the uniform of they're all in long black trench coats and sunglasses, and I mentioned like I have some facial blindness, so like
the villains and the heroes wear sunglasses.
Like, I had so much trouble telling people apart because they're all walking around dressed exactly the same,
and the only way you can tell is, well, their sunglasses are more circular and their sunglasses are more angular.
But the first Matrix is about this sort of ordinary seeming guy who then gets woken up into this like, whoa, what is going on? And you've got Morpheus and Trinity sort of explaining and guiding him along, and here's what's going on and here's how the world works. And this movie, you're dropped into a whole lot of world building that happens really fast. You're dropped into...
Yeah, first of all, we're underground.
Right.
We're in the real world.
Right. There is basically no ordinary world in Reloaded. Yeah. It's like you drop in, you're in this underground civilization, and these robots are trying to kill all of us, and yada, yada, yada. And it's a very different feeling. You don't get that feeling of like...
It's not as inviting as like the everyman is getting pulled into the... In fact, there's one character named Mouse who they kind of introduce but do nothing with, where it's like, hey, look, you saved me from the Matrix.
Yeah,
like, no, you saved yourself. And it's like, shouldn't this guy have been like the sort of, the new character that we kind of like are...
Yeah, he's just sort of this annoying kid who exists. And that character felt like... Mouse was, I think, in the first one. This guy is just credited as Kid, I believe. Yeah, that looks like him.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, like that character felt like there was more of a story with him written originally, and then they just kind of dropped it.
Yeah.
Happens with movies.
And now I just like, the whole thing that this movie kind of like hinges on is like, because that's the opening sequence. Oh, I'm so afraid that I lost Trinity. Yeah, it's a premonition about their love ending. Oh, doesn't your heart break for the tragic ending of Trinity and Neo, the love for the ages? You can just see it in their behind their sunglasses as they look gloweringly at each other. You know what I mean? This movie so is trying to go like, their love for each other is so strong. You can just see it as they, blankly stare at each other.
I will say I feel like they're, when they were making out in the elevator.
Yeah, they tried to do a little thing. We're making out. They caught us.
Yeah, I don't know. That felt pretty effective to me. As somebody who generally, like, I don't tend to like watching making out on screen. To
me, it felt like sort of totally believe that we're in a relationship. We so are, you guys.
I guess. And I will say, so what was interesting to me about this were the religious, because obviously there's a whole, like, if you look at the Wikipedia, it's like The Matrix Reloaded has themes of philosophy and kung fu movies, and like, it's just this. But there was a lot of Christian religious allegory in this that was interesting in that. And like, for one thing, like, I feel like there's Christian allegory in so many freaking things that I generally don't find it interesting.
Right.
The only reason...
Cheap and an easy...
Right, it's like the TV tropes, everyone is Jesus in purgatory.
Yeah.
But the reason I find it interesting here is because you've established, again, with The Matrix, with the original movie, you have this very particular journey of this character who's sort of relatable everyman, and then he becomes this Jesus figure. And I say specifically not a Christ figure, because like arguably like, there's some self-sacrifice or whatever, but it's really like, it feels kind of like Godspell, like, because, the musical about Jesus and... How do you not know Godspell? Oh, right, you're not a theater kid. You're an opera guy.
I do theater. I know my Follies. I know my Music Man. I know the P rhymes with B in this.
So how do you not know Godspell?
Look, you get 35% over here. You don't get the other 35% over there.
Godspell's like Godspell is like Jesus Christ Superstar meets Hairspray.
Yeah, see, I guess I just already saw one
Meets
Jesus
Pippin.
Christ Superstar. I just assumed there wasn't another one.
No, Godspell's like the sexy hippie one. I think maybe I'm mixing the two
I
up
drop
right
off
now.
my when was that one? Because I drop off my musicals around like the 60s and 70s.
It
That's
was,
when I
it
drop-
was like a 60s, 70s one. And also, I think originally they were all clowns. No, I saw. So I haven't seen.
Anyway.
I haven't seen Godspell since I was in high school. But anyway, but it's not about like the the sort of theological Christ allegory, whatever. But like it's like literally Neo is reminding me of like Jesus walking around in Christian Bible stories and having like the people like when he comes off the elevator.
Yeah.
And all these people are like,
bless us with
oh,
the
right,
yeah,
all
yeah.
the Neo, like my son is on the
Although, what was he gonna do? Like, because
Well,
they kind of cut away before he does anything,
Well,
right?
that's
is he
the
just gonna
thing
be
is like these
here you go.
people. These people seem to think that he basically is this divine figure who, if he he has enough power to just magically divinely keep her son safe.
I mean,
And
they kind of frame it as if he kind of does.
He
Like,
kind of
I mean,
does. Well,
the
when they were
reality is that he's only doing that in the Matrix. Like, that's what we're kind of aware of.
well, see, that's the weird thing to me. About
as the
when he
movie
starts
unfolds.
doing, because the whole point of the Matrix is it's all a simulation.
Yeah.
He realizes it's a simulation,
Right, and
because
so
of
you can
that,
manipulate it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like lucid dreaming. Like you realize you're in a
Right.
dream, so you can start doing stuff. But then it's just like, no, he just has magic powers. But what I was saying is, so Morpheus's character change is very interesting to me because Morpheus in the first Matrix is like, yeah, we get a little bit, we mentioned how it's like, I saw this as a kid and it's like, oh, that old man. And now it's
Right.
like, oh God,
Now it's just-
he's so young. Like, but even though we have Morpheus getting into conversations where other characters are like, oh, I think you're wrong, Morpheus, he still has this very authoritative, like, and in Reloaded, he comes off like a crazy religious zealot.
And he's not the head guy in charge.
Yeah.
Now he's answering to all these other people.
So it's very interesting that you have this like authoritative, like, I'm Morpheus and I'm going to tell you what's what. And then now in this, he's like the weirdo running around being like, no, the prophecy. And everybody's like, Morpheus is at it again.
Yeah, exactly. And what I like about that is, like you said, they try to make us care about the Trinity and Neo relationship, and I could barely give a toss. But when it comes to like the Morpheus and Jada Pinkett relationship with this guy and that, and it's like I can tell plot wise they're doing sort of cheap second hand to sort of be like, oh, what was already happening up to this point is that Morpheus was with Jada Pinkett, but then he went to the Oracle and the exchange. So it's kind of like the setup is already on this awkward, like, ooh, well, when they do these cutting looks
But
at
they
each
did
other.
have really good
But yeah, they did
chemistry.
it well. And so it's one of those things where it's like, it was done well. So I wanted to follow this story. You know?
Can I just say, cast-wise, there were some familiar, like Gina Torres. Gina Torres pops up, and you barely see her. And I was like,
many
Zoe,
people.
it's Zoe. And then Link is Harold Perrineau. I was like, where do I know him from? He is Mercutio in Romeo plus Juliet. He's my favorite Mercutio that I wish they would have not cut the Queen Mab speech to death, because I happily would have watched him do the entire Queen Mab speech.
I love that guy.
So you've got these pretty minor characters who are pretty fantastic.
I think he's my favorite character because he actually gets his relationship with his he's with his woman.
Yeah,
and it's kind of like, oh, we've got
their
kids. And,
dance scene was really hot. Like, also, there's there's a dance rave orgy that happens.
It's so insane because it's like early 90s dancing. The way these people are jumping, like they're not even on beat, they're just jumping as high as possible.
Yeah, and that looks really.
They never show anyone landing. You know,
they're all dancing in a cave, and then Neo and Trinity have their love scene in a small cave.
Yeah, and I remember as a kid being like, should I be watching this? Because it was like so many people just jumping up naked, and then them like they're having sex, but you see the metal things are on them, so it's kind of.
Can I say so I think the first time, at least that I remember clearly seeing one of the metal things, is when Lawrence Fishburne is up there doing the announcement, and he's kind of scantily clad, so you see all the things, and it's like, oh yeah, that was kind of not that I would have expected them to forget about the metal things, but it's like a nice little
it's still it's still part of it.
It makes it feel more specific and not just generic sci-fi robe people.
Right.
But also, we'll get to the Merovingian, I guess is how you say it.
Yeah.
The Merovingian.
My favorite villain in this movie, honestly.
He's great. And it was kind of funny because I was thinking, wow, I know French people. And I was like, wow, his French accent's really good. Like, it doesn't sound like a silly fake French accent. It sounds like a real French person. And the actor actually is French. So that's why. That's
but I
why
love the idea that he's a program who just really likes French.
yeah. Can I say, I do love the line, it's like wiping your ass, like cursing in French is like wiping your ass with silk. Yeah. And we'll get to like the twins and all this. But like, can I just say also,
Wait, you thirst cornering for the Frenchman?
No. I thought he was entertaining. I'm not thirst cornering for him. No. I just, the whole thing of like, he's a program who wants to do this, or he's a program who's gone rogue, or she's a program that feels like this. To me, as like a software person, it sounds like he's a sentence that wants to do this. Like she's a lyric that said that.
The sentence got feelings.
Right. It's just like, because a program, it's like, it's not really, it's like, yeah, it's a thing, but it's not really a thing. And
they're just taking advantage of people's ignorance about how computers work.
and it's like, I guess they're thinking, arguably like a piece of software. I mean, and it's the thing of artificial intelligence, and obviously like the bad guys in the Matrix, right? The machines, they're all machines, right? Yeah. There are no, unless I'm missing something, there's no organic origin or component to these. Like, they're not like the Daleks in Doctor Who, where there's a little gross octopus.
They're just
this little gross octopus thing inside the robot. It's like, no, they're just robots that look like gross octopuses.
Yeah. But and so is the KFC man. Is he a robot too?
Yeah. You talking about the architect?
Yeah.
I love how like I knew. Yes,
you knew exactly what I was talking about.
But yeah, like the architect is a program. The Oracle is apparently a program.
Yeah, and that's what kind of threw me a little bit, where I was kind of like, wait a minute, okay, all right, just real quick, it just kind of felt like don't you trust me, Neo? You're gonna have to trust me, or da-da-da-da-da, and it's like, yeah, but we're fighting machines, and you just told me you're a machine. Why would I trust you? Literally, the only reason I would be trusting you now is because, well, I already trusted you in the first movie, so I guess I just have to. Like, you know what I mean? It just feels like, no, you're working with, I would literally have every reason to believe that you're giving me information to make me do what the robots want me to do.
Yeah.
Like,
And so there's these two sort of things happening once you have in the real world, the real physical world, where Zion is an actual place with meat human beings underground in actual metal and stone buildings that are being threatened by actual physical metal robot things. And that is happening, right? And they're fighting a war with these things. And also at the same time, you have this thing going on in the Matrix where Morpheus is like, okay, we got to go talk to the Oracle. Neo goes and talks to the Oracle, and she says something about like, well, you got to go to the source and you got to meet the key maker to get the key to the source. So then he goes on a quest to find the key maker and then get
the fetch quest for the MacGuffin.
Right. It is 100% a fetch quest for a MacGuffin. He gets the key maker and then he goes to the source and the thing happens. And all through that whole side of things, there are real human beings in meat space getting threatened by real metal machines.
Right.
But also there's all this stuff going on in the Matrix, and it's like, I felt like part of it was like, it was starting to feel a little bit harder. It's like, you're faffing around playing a video game.
Yeah, and what's funny is that like the Matrix doesn't feel like a real place anymore. Like it feels like it's purely there for action scenes. It doesn't feel like they're interrupting real life. It feels like it's here is the Matrix, which is an action scene now.
That is exactly, that's exactly what I was going to say, is that it doesn't feel real in Reloaded, because in the first Matrix movie, that's Neo's reality. That is,
or at least like the first half hour, like, we're in a normal
that's
feeling
the
world.
Entire world as far as he knows, and then he finds out that's not actually the real world, but it's still the world in which like that's his whole frame of reference. In the Matrix Reloaded, Zion is the real world, and so like,
and the only time we cut to the Matrix is for over-the-top stuff happening.
And so it really just feels like they're going and playing a video game when there's like real shit going on.
And what it makes it even more annoying is that when I think about what he's actually doing, I'm like, wait, there's one point where Smith sends his earpiece
Yeah, what is okay? What's going on with Smith is that somehow whatever Neo did to him at the end of the first one made him able to like
And I
spread himself
hate
and cause
that.
other people to
I
replicate.
hate that so badly because I watched back at the first movie and it was like I remember having this feeling of like wait a minute, what happens? So Neo, after like being able to like revive himself somehow, he was shot a lot and then somehow was able to come back because it's all a video game, so I guess I can do whatever I want. And then he runs into Smith. He doesn't just like hit him with a gun, hit him with slice him with a sword or anything. He runs into him and like causes him to like explode him out. The other two agents run for dear life. He doesn't run into them and make them explode. They just leave. So it's like, okay, so you could have gotten rid of them without running into them and making them explode. And so it's like the fact that he comes back and you did something to me, Mr. Anderson, that made me do this. Like, so this is your fault, Neo. You could have done any other thing to make this happen other than literally merging with him in a way that allows him to continue living and do what he needs to do next. It's your fault, Neo.
I mean, to be fair, like Neo probably had no way of knowing that would happen because
that's
weird.
True, but it also becomes like, why the hell did you think? Why was your first instinct? Oh, I know. I'll run into him. That won't in any way cause me to in any way have something that could. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, what could possibly go wrong? Me running into this program that I don't know anything about. Could it possibly come with me into the real world? Well, I don't know. I guess I'm just gonna try it.
Like clicking on that sketchy PDF that you got in an email.
Like that's essentially what he did. And so it's like, so when in the second movie he's like, I'm able to merge with other people. It's like, well, gee, he couldn't do that in the first movie, but now he can. Thanks, Neo. You literally made the villain more powerful. Like, that's what I mean by it is like, wait, you're basically undoing the first movie by being like, the guy that he was fighting, he just helped.
Yeah.
And I know what what's building up, especially in the second movie, it's like I am the 0 and you are the 1, Smith, and we must combine to make 10 or whatever bullshit, And it's like, but it's just like, or, hey, I know, because this is what happens. There's a first fight scene that happens, when he fights the other agents that slowly turn into, like, one of them turns into Smith or something like that. And he's like, what? He could do that? Oh my God, what's happening? And then he gets away. And then, the other version of him walks over to him and he says, it's going just as we expected, but slightly different this time. And that's the thing that make you as the audience member, what? It happened before? What?
Yeah.
And then, he goes to, like, they don't really explain it, but, like, he goes to a building that is, like, after a while, you gotta be like, okay, this must be the Oracle's building, because, like, I don't know where else he would have gone randomly, you know what I'm saying?
Also, I'm sorry, real quick pin, when he goes to see the Oracle, is he, like, in China in the Matrix, or is it, like, a Chinatown? Because there's, like, a market that it sounds like, I mean, it's kind of chaotic, noisy, but it sounded like people were speaking Chinese.
I think you just feel that way because what's his name is the guy the Chinese dude who's like wearing like white Chinese vestments kind of.
Oh, what's his name? Seraph.
Yeah, Seraph.
But no, like the market felt like, because it seemed like.
What was there? Because it just seemed like it was like it seemed like it was like behind a neighborhood where a basketball court is. That's what it seemed like to me.
Maybe. I felt like they were doing something with that, but
yeah. But it was like, so essentially what happens is, what you gather is he tries to find her in the, place where she normally is. She's not there. Then I can't remember what happens that leads him to know that he needs to specifically go to see her here, but somehow he's able to find out that he has to go through these doors that eventually because he comes across Seraph and he fights him to be like, it's been 10 minutes. We must have another fight scene. It doesn't matter. Literally nothing matters what's happening right now.
Seraph delivers the line, now I know you're the one, because you don't truly know someone until you've fought them.
Yeah,
like that is like, you can't get married to somebody until you've had hand-to-hand contact.
Right.
your teen, you want to connect with your teen, just throw a punch.
Exactly.
Don't do that.
So he brings them to her, and it's kind of like, here she is. And she spits all the stuff about how, like, I'm going to sit down now, but I'm saying it before you do it, but you're going to do it anyway because you want to sit down. Now, it's a little contrived, I feel like, but the one part that I really like is the part where they say, you already know that you're going to do it. You're here to figure out why you're going to do it. That was the bit that I really enjoyed, where it's like, oh, yeah, you know, like when you're doing these tropes of like playing with fate and things like that, like I like when they're actually trying to do something beyond just, well, you're just already supposed to do it, so just do it. It's like, well, why would you feel like you needed to do it? You know, like I like them, you know, building that up as a thing that kind of would pay off better if Keanu Reeves was a better actor, but you know, because like there's literally a scene at the end where it's like, I am the Kentucky Fried Chicken Man, and I'm going to explain directly what you're feeling so that the audience will know, because Keanu Reeves is not very good at communicating that. You know, but the thing that I like, yeah, hated about it is like I thought about the first movie. Is like the first movie is relatively grounded in terms of like, you know, it's like, well, it's a dream world that this Matrix is, but like essentially in the real world, you know, things are real, and in the fake world, you can manipulate it. But by the time we get to this movie, it's like, Agent Smith can get out of the Matrix, and he's a program that can infect a human being, and what is it? Oh, and Neo can just scoop a bullet out of someone now. He can just do that now in the real world. Like, yeah, he's just capable of doing that.
Was that supposed to be in the real world? See,
it was.
I got some confusion
I could have
about what
swore that was supposed to be in the real
I think because
world.
she's in like there's like skyscrapers, and the skyscrapers are only in the Matrix, but
Yeah.
that actually brings up a point that I feel like there's a lot of muddiness between what's the Matrix and what's, you know, the real like Earth. And I feel like one thing that could have, so I feel like the allowing the Matrix programs to sort of just magically manifest themselves into the real world and affect things. I feel like the reason they did that is because if they're setting more stuff in the real world, I feel like they were trying to counteract the sense that the Matrix is basically just a video game and isn't really relevant to what's going on in the real world anymore.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, the squids, right? Or what are they called? There's like a word for them. It's the Sentinels. The Sentinels, those robots are connected to the programs that run the Matrix, right? They're all connected. And those robots are physical beings that can do harm to the physical meat humans in meat space.
Yeah.
And so I feel like if you had just been like, well, if the agents or whatever in the Matrix can get information, can like read information about Zion from the people who go into the Matrix, then it can like tell the Sentinels things to help them like burrow there faster or something. Like I feel you could have, there is a physical component, and you could have had the Matrix, the stuff that happens in the Matrix affect the physical component without the silliness of this program like took over a dude's body in real life, and now he's a robot man.
It's so funny. Like the more I think about it, the more it's like, wow, the Matrix was kind of like a forward thinking kind of like a science fiction action movie where it like kind of incorporated like how, you know, computers and like that. With this, it feels like it's reverting back to early 90s sort of Johnny Mnemonic. Oh, he's got a memory drive in his brain. Oh, that's what he needs in order to, and it hurts his brain every time he uses the memory drive, but he needs to use it. It's like, what? Why would anyone develop this technology? You know? But you get what I mean in terms of like this sort of like trying to raise the stakes by being like, oh, the computer came into the real world, but through the most contrived way ever. You know what I mean?
Can I tell you a real quick, total tangent story about Johnny Mnemonic?
Oh, yeah.
Just when I last watched Johnny Mnemonic, it was because I was making yachnun, which is a bread that has to be slow cooked overnight. And at the time we had a gas stove, and I was scared to go to sleep with the gas stove on overnight. So I just like stayed up all night watching Johnny Mnemonic. Yeah.
Why Johnny Mnemonic?
I don't know. It was on, and I was like, yeah, all right.
But yeah, okay. So just to talk about Smith's character motivation, right? So
that you want to torture somebody with facial blindness, and you have Smith, and there's like a million of him, but there's also other
there's
skinny,
also the other guys.
there's other
They're
skinny white guys in sunglasses,
Yeah.
and I can't tell the difference. And their names are like Thompson and Johnson.
Yeah. So this is the thing. So he comes back and he's like, in the first movie, it's like, I'm a program that was sent by the Matrix to keep you where you are, Neo. And now in this movie, it's, oh, I just want to kill you, Neo, because I'm unplugged from the Matrix. Now I really want to kill it. Like they're trying to raise the stakes, but I'm like, why does it matter? What, like, oh, is it personal for the computer program now? Like, you know, why does that matter as him as a character in this film? Because they set it up that, like, Smith is becoming more human or something like that.
Because, like, the end of the first one, when he does his whole, like, humans are a virus rant,
yeah, you're a disease.
you can tell that he is getting emotional and he's taking it personally and he's not just doing this sort of, pure logic computer program serving his function.
But then as it's like, there seems to be something about like, oh, when you fused with me, that added something or something like that.
I just noticed that Cornel West played Counselor West.
Yeah, he's like randomly in there.
They just named him. Also, can I just say that Counselor Hammond, or Heyman, whatever you say. Wait, is his name Counselor Haman? I didn't hear them say his name. They just call him Counselor.
Yeah, I liked his scene. I thought he was pretty cool.
I thought he was evil. Like, he gave me he gave me the vibe, and I don't think
he was going to be one of the machines. That's why he was telling you, yes, you should care about the
not
machines.
Not even one of the machines or something, but he just gave me the vibe of like, oh, you trust this guy, and he seems to be in the right, but he's going to turn out to be evil. Guy. He totally gave me he's going to secretly be a bad guy vibes, and I did not.
He came off as like, if he was a bad guy, he was going to be the reluctant bad guy who was like, I was doing this because I thought it was for the good or something like that.
Yeah, or something. I just totally thought he was going to be a bad guy and he wasn't. But also, there's obviously a lot of like biblical and religious, like, obviously the place is called Zion and there's a character called Seraph, like the angel.
Yeah.
And his name is Counselor Haman, who is like the bad guy who tries to kill all the Jews in the Book of Esther.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I really thought he was going to be a bad guy. Maybe he'll turn out to be bad in the next movie. I don't know. Because we got to watch that. It came out 6 months later. I looked it up. I was like, how close together?
Yeah, it really was.
Later, yeah.
Yeah, we never really explored Smith being a human, like being part human, or the idea of, I don't know, Neo being part machine. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that never really, like, becomes a thing, Maybe my wooden acting is because of the, you know what I mean? Look, I know we love him now because he's a great guy personally. Right. And he does good action movies. I mean, but can we not do this and act like, oh, no, he was totally a good actor because he's a nice guy? No, he's not a good actor, okay?
Yeah, no, I mean, I am not. Like,
let's not Mandela affect ourselves into thinking.
No, I mean, the thing is, Keanu Reeves was very well cast as, and it is
especially in the first movie.
Yeah, I think, and we talked about this before, but imagine how different these movies would be if it was Will Smith.
If it was, it really wouldn't be the same thing.
I don't think they would have been better or worse. I think they just would have been
different
really
movies. Yeah.
I love Keanu. He's a wonderful, but Will Smith has light behind his.
Yeah, exactly.
Will Smith has the lights on. Somebody's home.
But Keanu, Keanu is a good, a good tool to be used of like the sort of like, oh, he's the guy who's being overwhelmed, but maybe he's figuring it out, but he's kind of like, he's like, blues something of death or something.
The blue screen of death.
Yeah, in his eyes,
Yeah, he always seems like he's kind of like very far away and thinking very hard.
Yeah, very hard to get to very simple things.
Will Smith's much more of a he's like paying attention and reacting. To
like MIB versus The Matrix in terms of like main characters.
Yeah.
Like, imagine the character in MIB being in this movie. That's what he would probably be.
We've obviously seen Will Smith do like dramatic acting at this point, and he wouldn't necessarily be being like goofy or silly.
No, but for this kind of action, science fiction movie.
He would be much more like, I feel like he'd be much more sort of like a normal guy.
Yeah.
Which would be, it's interesting because it's like, okay, so here's, and this is getting back to what I was saying about like the big difference between these two movies is that you go from Neo being a sort of relatable everyman who's getting inducted into the strange new world that we as the audience are getting inducted into, to he literally is like Jesus walking around with the people going like, please, I must touch the hem of your coat. And Morpheus being like his John the Baptist, and like you literally have like a religious zealot running around ahead of you yelling at everybody about how the prophecy says you're the chosen one.
Right.
That's not relatable.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? My problem is like, what is taking Smith so long to do anything? Like, the fact that when he
Agent Smith, for a second I was like, wait, are we still talking about Will Smith?
No.
Agent Smith.
No, but when he's talking to the Oracle, when Neo's talking to the Oracle, it's like, yes, we have all this time for all this philosophical bullshit and da-da-da-da. And then now it is time to go. Okay, I have time to go. And then just as he goes, Smith, slow villain walking right into the frame. I guess he was walking all across the Matrix really slowly.
Yeah.
So they knew, he's 15 minutes away. He's going to be slow villain walking, so we've got time to talk. It's like, what is he doing?
I mean, it's like the same kind of, I was talking to somebody about time travel movies, which isn't what's happening here, but have you ever seen a movie or a show, and I can't think of a specific example right now, but have you ever seen...
we got 15 minutes more, we gotta do it now, boy.
Well, no, but like, you've seen something where time travel's involved, And even though within the logic of the story, if like I'm in the 21st century and I send somebody back in time to the 17th century, whatever they do in the past already happened hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
And yet there's still something where they'll be like cutting back and forth between them in the past going over the course of like 10 minutes and me in the present over the course of 10 minutes. And I'm going, oh, have they done it yet? Oh my goodness. Even though it
yeah.
And the reason for that thing is, even though it logically doesn't make sense, is because it adds suspense. And if it was just sending somebody back in the past and then I'm instantly like, okay, now it's all good, they did it. Oh no, they messed up and they didn't do it. Instantly, you wouldn't have that suspense. And I feel like it's one of those things where logically Agent Smith should be able to just teleport wherever the hell he wants in the Matrix on command and do whatever he wants.
They're able to randomly go into people's bodies as the movie goes on. Because there's a part where there's people in a car by themselves, not able to be touched by anyone, and it's just
the freeway thing was like, that could have been like a quarter the length of what it was.
Yes.
I will say it was kind of funny.
And it could have just been with the ghost dudes. In this movie, as a kid, the ghost dudes were cool as shit.
The twins were scary. They were so scary. And they're actual twins.
Dude, if this movie was just the Merovingian, and then the ghost guys are like you didn't
need Agent Smith.
Mini bosses.
That felt like they wanted Hugo Weaving's star power.
Right. They weren't confident in being able to just do the movie without him.
It's like Agent Smith was not. He was interesting in The Matrix 1. He's not interesting at this point. You're right. The newer characters are way more interesting.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, like Neo is having all this problem fighting him in the first movie, and it like takes everything that he can to fight him. And now in this movie, he can take him on. Oh, okay. He can talk at 8 minutes. Okay. He can take on 1,000. Okay. And it's like a bit after a while, it becomes to be like, okay, well, I know you can. Just get on with it.
It's the reason that Superman is less interesting than Batman.
Right? Yeah.
And they literally call him Superman at one point early on.
Yeah, he's doing the Superman thing again. It's like, haha, you're leading into it, but you're doing it though.
Yeah, he's actually Superman, and that makes him less interesting because you're not like...
He's like swirling clouds around him to get where he wants to. You know, there's one part where he's like flying to get to get Trinity, and there are cars flying up behind him because of the air he's like pushing behind him. And I'm like, are there not human beings in those cars?
Well,
does that not matter? Well, where are you not trying to save people?
And let's get back to that in a second. I do want to say real quick that I thought it was kind of funny. The freeway thing, I said it went on way too long, but it was also kind of funny because obviously the Wachowski sisters lived in LA. And I loved that people who obviously lived in LA and their idea of hey, it would be a terrifying, what would just be a suicidally dangerous and terrifying setting for an action sequence, a freeway.
Well, I thought I figured the joke is supposed to be like, oh no, the freeway is going to be awful traffic, huh? Like usual, am I right? No big deal.
But you brought something up there with the are there not people? And again, and we talked about this a little in the first one, where they just march into a building and start gunning people down.
When they go into the Merovingians building and they go They go into the elevator and you see people about to go in behind them, and Morpheus just does that was kind of funny. But then there's one part they mentioned there's bombs in every floor of this thing wired to explode. And I was like, why is that a plot detail they brought up? That didn't.
I'm not trying to do the Tipper Gore thing here of if you put bad things in movies, people, but there is something disturbing about okay, I don't know if anybody has seen this cursed shit, but there are people, you see that on TikTok and stuff, there will be people who declare themselves as spiritually enlightened superior beings who...
Oh, like Russell Brand.
We're just nobodies who are I am a spiritually enlightened star child, indigo, whatever. And they declare the people around them NPCs or say the people around them don't have souls and they're not real people.
Wow.
And they'll go around filming just people walking on the street being see, these people aren't real. They don't have souls. They're NPCs. And it's so disturbing because that's literally the kind of thinking that leads to genocide. That's literally the kind of thinking that allows somebody to do a mass shooting. That is so fucking disturbing. Wow. Anyway, so the idea of like, well, our super cool action heroes who are all enlightened because they've been outside the Matrix and they know what blah blah blah, they're important. But yeah, they can gun down a bunch of suckers who are just still in their battery pods.
You know, it's
And-
like, are we like, we're here to save you. Brrr, we're here to save you.
right, and it's like, and then in this one, there are so many characters, so many human appearing characters who wind up being just programs, and it really calls into question like how many people that you see are humans versus programs. And I think there's, there's even like
The thing about it is, what undercuts it all is, well, if anyone can just be turned into a Smith, well, then none of the humans matter. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, well, then we can't just waste anyone.
And that's
It's like, well,
and even coming to the ending when we'll probably want to circle back and talk about this like in more detail, but like when he says like, okay, you can allow all these humans in that civilization to be killed or go save your girlfriend, and he chooses to go save the girlfriend, and I'm like, I'm sorry, is that supposed to be sympathetic? Because true love, like, and here's the thing, just as a grumpy old man who has been through multiple long-term relationships at this point, I'm not just thinking like the movie romance, whatever. Imagine being in a relationship with somebody who decided to save you at the expense of sacrificing thousands, if not millions, of human beings,
all of humanity,
including children. And it's like, can you imagine waking up every day and like you ever get in a fight, you ever have a disagreement, but imagine what like that relationship would be like. Like you wake up and you're like, oh man, I really wish that he would like, put his dirty dishes in the dishwasher, but I can't say anything because he literally sacrificed all of you. Like you cannot have that really. I mean, and also just morally reprehensible.
Well, yeah. Also, just
like how the fuck?
Well, the joke. Well, I mean, the bit is supposed to be that, like, this has happened before, and you've always done what you've done the first
right, it's
time,
like,
but
it's not
different this time. Because you chose like selfishness over like the continued existence of humanity.
That's the thing. And look, I mean, I'm a dirty utilitarianist, and I believe my answer to the trolley problem is run over the dude and save the 12 dudes.
Because more people being saved is more important at the end of the day.
I mean, like,
look, if you have limited time, you have limited reasons. What are you supposed to do? Because what this is trying to do is the Spider-Man thing: save the girl or save the people in the trolley. Right. You know what I'm saying in the movie. But the thing about it is, it's like, that wasn't so epically set up for the stakes of, well, the idea is that he's trying to do both, but it's not like if he fails, the rest of humanity stops existing.
All of humanity, and also, except for like 26 people they said or something like that.
Yeah, to restart it again? Yeah.
But the other thing too is that it doesn't even feel like it's really about Trinity. It feels like him being like, no, man, you can't tell me what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
It really feels like a Bill and Ted moment.
You told me to do this thing, so I'm going to do the opposite.
Like, it doesn't even feel like it's really about Trinity. It feels like he's just like, you can't tell me what to do. And it's because you've got this question of determinism woven throughout. Like, even when the Oracle offers him candy, and he's like, well, do I really have free will about choosing the candy? And now it's like, do I really have free will about choosing all of humanity?
Yeah.
And, I don't know. I think taking a deep breath, this movie came out in 2003, and that wasn't that long ago. That was during our lifetimes, and
20 years,
right? But like, that wasn't that long ago, but it was long enough ago that our culture, like pop culture, we've had a lot of these conversations since then. And so I feel like it's always hard to judge something that came out in like this time period specifically for me, because personally, like, even though obviously I can like watch movies from any time period now and mentally go like, okay, well, that came out in the 70s. And so but in terms of being aware of a zeitgeist, I was in high school when this movie came out. And so I was just becoming aware of any kind of a zeitgeist. Like cause you can watch older movies and stuff, but it is really hard to gauge what the cultural conversation was.
But I have a question though. So if he chooses to stay in the Matrix, the 26 people or whatever repopulate the world, and all of this happens over again, but a whole bunch of people are going to be killed regardless of what happens if he does that. If he saves Trinity, do a whole bunch of people get killed and they restart the Matrix over again anyways? Like, what is going to be different about what happens?
Yeah, well, I think the idea is that if he kills her, then if he chooses Trinity, then he didn't pick the people to restart Zion, so just everybody's dead and everything's over.
Yeah. Well, apparently it's a delayed thing. It wasn't going to happen immediately. It's like because that's what was supposed to happen. The one was supposed to go to the source, basically. He was supposed to go to where Colonel Sanders is. And it was supposed to be, once he goes there, then the war will be over. But he went to him. He made a decision.
That was such a MacGuffin thing, too, because it's like, why would him going there stop the war? I never understood what that was supposed to be.
I think what it's supposed to be is like Morpheus having a blind belief in something. Oh, I've been told that this is what's going to cause the thing, and it didn't do it. So
yeah,
that's supposed to be the doubt at the end of the movie.
I appreciate that. I appreciate Morpheus's obsessive faith in the, quote unquote prophecy being wrong and misguided.
Yeah.
I do really appreciate that, because even now,
like he's definitively proven wrong, right?
Because even now, 20 years later, the whole a prophecy said this and therefore it must happen is such a fucking cliche. It's still getting used, and it's so fucking dumb, because first of all, that's not prophecies in the Bible. That's not what a prophecy is. Prophecies aren't this thing is going to happen. Prophecies are a prophet yelling at kings about how they're making God mad. That's what a prophecy is. And the whole this prophecy said this, so therefore this is going to happen, is just such fucking lazy writing. And so I do really appreciate, for the flaws in this movie, I do really appreciate that subversion, because it would be so easy to just be somehow it's gonna happen because the prophecy said. Also, can I say real quick, one thing that was bothered me is the Oracle says something when people say they've seen a ghost or an alien or an angel, this thing happening in the Matrix. And I'm okay,
doing what it's not.
But the Matrix started in the 90s. In the 1990s, people were talking about aliens and ghosts and angels prior to the 1990s.
What I think is supposed to be is that, okay, so history happened up to the 1990s, and then the first Matrix happened. And now, the history that you and I now are believing in is actually the history of that Matrix being that's what I think is happening.
In real life, nobody ever talked about angels or ghosts prior to 1990s, but the Matrix makes you believe that so that would radically change the culture. But also, I really appreciated the two Frodo Smith henchmen that Persephone shoots the one of them, and how they're laying around watching a vampire movie, and then she kills the guy with a silver bullet. And they were weirdly, in a very subtle way, I feel they were more creepy even than the twins.
They looked like they were supposed to be something, and then it was okay.
It was just that they were very well cast, and they somehow they looked like dudes who would turn into werewolves.
Yeah,
and
they never did.
And there was just something so creepy. There's something very creepy about they're an older model and they don't quite work the way they're supposed to, but without going into detail. That's very uncanny, and I appreciated it.
This is the next thing I want to ask. So there's a part where he takes over, Smith takes over that guy's body, but he's still in the Matrix. You know what I'm saying? Smith's still in the Matrix, but part of him is still in this guy's body. And I remember there's a part where he's cutting his hand or something. We have to be I'm human now.
Yeah, I remember. And then he was running up. He had the thing in his.
He was just about to cut.
He was gonna go cut Neo,
but then someone called. Someone said, "Oh, Neo, hold on!" And so he's I can't do it now. But I was thinking to myself, I don't know, can he still do it? What is it? What would stop
are you worried about getting in trouble?
Yeah, exactly.
I honestly had a really hard time understanding a lot of what was going on with that guy.
Nothing in that movie.
Yeah. I feel they were just setting him up to be a bigger deal in the next one.
Exactly. And I don't remember him being that big of a deal.
I don't remember.
Movie,
I think I maybe watched that movie or part of it when I was 15.
Now,
so I will have to wait and see.
My next thing, again, they play it as was it a dream sequence or was it real? But it's I'm sorry, did no one see Smith take over that guy's body? Because I could have swore Link was watching Neo when he said, he's doing Superman stuff. So they're able to see them. And where are these cameras set up?
When I was going back and looking at the summary on Wikipedia, it says something about this ship left Zion to go into the Matrix. And I was wait, why does the ship have to go anywhere to go into a Matrix? It's the computer. And Link is he's going on the ship and going on this dangerous mission, and his wife is worried about him. And then he's like sitting in front of a computer, and it's like, couldn't he have just done that anywhere? Like, I don't understand how this works.
Yeah, they don't have a digital setup, where he could have, yeah.
Like, do they have to fly closer to the battery packs? Is that how it works?
There's like a whole thing in the third act about like, I feel like it barely really gets shown of like, there are two ships that go off to do something. They were supposed to send an EMP, and then it sets off too early, so it destroys their ships. So the only ship that's the person who is left
the
is
humans are fucked at the end, right? Like, the humans are
yeah, but it just, I just felt like when that happened, it felt like such a, we're showing Matrix, Neo's big story, and then, oh yeah, by the way, the third act happens where the thing gets destroyed, and then, you know what I'm saying? It just kind of felt like that feels like that should have been because that actually affects what's happening. Like, Neo's story, it just feels like if Smith wasn't here, the same thing would still be happening, wouldn't it? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You think someone would be like, hey, you're just about to get back to base, but hey, didn't two agents just roll up on you? What happened with that? Like, no one wants to ask a question? You know what I mean? Like, didn't you, right before you picked up the phone, two agents rolled up on you. Did something happen? Like, yeah. They slide around it by making it a fake out dream, but it's like, but it really happened. So you know what I mean? Like, like they're trying to have the tension of the double cross scene without actually, like, narratively, as far as a film is concerned, showing you the narrative language as to how someone could get this close and stuff without anyone really knowing and being aware, because it just seems like, oh, all of a sudden he's just behind this thing and cutting himself, and then he just gets really close, it's like, really? Like, he doesn't have, and then also just the cutting his hand just feels like a shorthand for, oh, I can feel now, but it's like, I don't know, Smith, like, he's finally able to, like, smell air and eat food. Like, I think there'd be a way bigger, like, that would actually be cool if he was actually being sidelined for most of the movie because he was just like, I can have feelings now. I kill him? You know what I mean? That would be interesting if that was actually what was happening. Yeah. That's not what's happening. They're just doing, again, shorthand. Ooh, he's hurting himself because he's feeling pain but he wants to kill him, but he can't kill him. And all. Like, there's a lot of shorthand that feels just sort of like, I would like this if there was actually shit really building off of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they have the scene with the old man where they go down to the machine room that kind of shows like everything, how it keeps Zion running. And I actually really like that scene where it's like the machines need the humans and vice versa. And it was like, okay, but like the machines that are coming to kill you, you don't need them though, but all right. Yeah. Oh yeah. So basically what ends up happening next is, because after that conversation, I feel like it's a thing where like Neo's gotten to, the old man by being like, oh, you talk about old men, being, not having a point or whatever, but, why are there no young men in your council?
That felt like it was that. Well, I think that actually, that interaction, now that you mention it, because I'd forgotten about that, but I think that was part of my sense that this guy was like a bad guy. It's like, oh, he's the corrupt official who's
right.
Sending the young men off to war and not letting them have a say. And that's like, I was like, yeah, like, are you setting this guy up as a villain? And then he wasn't.
So I try to look on, Wikipedia to be like, oh yeah, let's look at what the summary is. And then when I'll actually like write the notes of like, what am I actually seeing? What's happening? I'll just be like, they really skipped ahead of a lot of things. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to go like, wait, where am I in the movie when I wrote this note? Because I think around here is where I'm, this is the part where I'm like, why would you trust the Oracle after she admitted to being a program? I just can't follow that logic, huh?
She's got hard candy. She's got to be trustworthy.
But I'm just like, I just feel like you would immediately be like, oh, well, gee, if the prophecy doesn't come true, maybe the robot is lying to me.
It felt like literally he was like, well, I believed you in the last movie.
Right.
So.
It's like, you're literally a different person. Why am I still believing?
She told him about the spoon.
But and it's also a thing that I have with movies where it's like, okay, when a thing gets revealed to you in a movie, it's not that it was true then, it was true the whole time, right? Mm-hmm. So with the Oracle, it's like, okay, it's true the whole time that she knew the architect guy and that they're friends and that they work together to do the thing. And I'm like, so we're your little playthings? Like, I'm sorry, can't you go like, hey, can you just like bring me right to them so we can just talk? why do I have to go on this whole fucking adventure fighting Smith 18 times? Like, I was like, wait, hold on. You're actually involved with it. You're not just an old lady I'm just a simple program. No, you are the one other person next to the architect.
Yeah, he literally says she's the mother of the Matrix.
It's like, so, could you help me out?
Yeah, well, and it really did. I mean, it felt a little bit like the Wizard of Oz of like, oh, well, if I told you at the beginning, you would.
Right, but like it feels like they're trying to do that, but for a new age. But it's like it really doesn't work because
it pissed people off.
Putting in danger.
It pissed people off in Wizard of Oz too. Yeah, and it did like I don't know that whole. It just felt very like.
Whereas in the first movie,
it felt very video gamey in a bad way.
And whereas in the first movie, that sort of mystical, oh, you don't know if it's true or not, is kind of like a.
It felt more justified.
Yeah, where in this, where it's like they have to reveal that she's on program, so it's like, oh, there's no ambiguity now. You literally do have a stake in making me. Your thumb is on the scale,
Right.
Yeah, that's what I wrote. Like when you're in the moment of the movie, the mystical stuff has that could mean anything. But then when you have the answer and you know that they're just buddies, it becomes wait, you literally made this happen. The Oracle knows exactly when Smith is showing up. He's like, oh, yes, I planned for Smith to show up right now. All right, I'm going to leave so that you can go fight him for 50 minutes. It's going to look really cool. It's like...
Yeah.
And then, like this super exhausting fight scene happens. And it's like, there's not even a philosophical, like, point to it. Like, how usually it's like, you believe this, but I believe this. No, literally, it's like, I'm a program, so I'm supposed to do what programs do. And when I got out of the Matrix, I had to keep doing what I wanted to do anyway.
And again, we get back to the sort of, I guess not humanity, but the personhood of programs.
The scene of the fighting a million Smiths, where it's just like I said, I remember as a kid.
1 million Smiths.
Like as a kid, I remember feeling like I would dub this scene the thing that made me feel the fact that spectacle isn't necessarily satisfying the bigger it gets. You know what I'm saying? Because it was just like by the time he had the pole and he was hitting all the guys with the thing, I'm just like Lee, and also it's like, I'm sorry, are you not able to kill any of these guys? If you're not able to do any damage to any of them, if you can't put any of them out of the commission, if they're always just able to get up once again,
who did this scene right?
Who?
Disney's Hercules with the Hydra.
Oh, yeah, that's actually pretty good. But like, they actually made that work because it was like, there was something they were able to do that was like, all right, boom, he did that thing, and then that killed the ball. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
But with this, it's just like, no matter what he does, they just keep coming anyway, and then eventually he just flies away, and it was like, it's so unsatisfying because they're just like, well, anyways, we're going to saunter over to see him again.
Why can't the Smiths fly?
Yeah, and also, why can't they be killed? Like, why can't, like, if they can't have anything be done to them, like, that's what was kind of like messing with me. Like, in the first movie, it's like, okay, they're avoiding the weapons and all that sort of stuff. But then it becomes this thing of like, wait, they just can't be killed anyway? And so it's just like, all right, like this is completely unkillable. Like I just feel that at least in the Terminator, the thing was able to have something done to hit it, Like this it just feels like it's just nothing is able to stop it. And so I just feel like, well, okay then, you know what I'm saying? Like there's no tension whatsoever.
Terminator 2, the T-9100 or whatever.
Yeah, it could melt sometimes.
It's like, right, it's still like a physical being, even if it's like this magic melty liquid, it's metal. It's still metal, it's still a thing. And this is part of the problem with like a program as a being is like, what does that mean? That's like saying an idea is a being.
And also like what, like as the fight scenes start to just get exhausting in general, because it's just like, oh, okay, no one can use their guns because they're able to stop the bullets, and now they're just going fisticuffs, hitting their fists against their other fists and hitting against their arms and hitting.
And that was like that was the Wachowski sisters like kung fu movies, and they wanted some kung fu.
Yeah, stuff. Exactly. But after a while, it becomes like, who fucking cares that this indestructible machine is hitting your knee up against his elbow, up against his arm, up against.
I really started tuning out.
Yeah,
with that.
Like the only fight where it was cool was the truck fight with the ghost guys, because like, and even then the fight that leads to that fight is also boring because it's like you have the lead up beforehand with Monica Bellucci or whoever the heck.
The Persephone.
Yeah. Who's going like, kiss me. Well, basically what happens is they go to the Merovingian to try to get the Keymaster.
Can I just say something about that whole bit?
Oh,
where
yeah,
Trinity
sure.
almost shot her. It's
Yeah, she's like, how about you eat this? It's like, damn.
Trinity.
Impulse control.
You are trying to save the world. You're not going to let a girl kiss your boyfriend.
Right?
Because, like, literally.
But the movie's trying to show just how much they love each other.
That to me, like
rational ownership over him. That's love, right?
That is like a perfect illustration of toxic monogamy. It's like literally he needs to kiss her to save the world, and you're gonna try and shoot her.
And it's like he literally is not. It's not like he's gonna go, oh, I have feelings for this woman. Let me kiss to show how much.
Also, she's not as far and this again. I keep coming back. Like, what the hell are we supposed to think here? She's not even a human. She's a program, right? Like, because she's married to a program.
Yeah.
So I assume, and this is like, I just want to know who is a little fetus in a little battery pod somewhere, and who is just lines of code.
And then, this is the thing that confused me earlier in the movie, where he says, like, I watched you die, Mr. Anderson. But then you fast forward, he says, but then you destroyed me. And like, I saw you destroy me. But anyways, afterwards, I knew the rules. I followed it. And I was like, oh, wait. You just said he destroyed you. What happened after he destroyed you? Did he just come back into existence? Like, you know what I'm saying? They don't explain what happened. Yeah. He's just kind of like, anyway, I was just kind of able to come back later on. It's like, no, what, did they remake you? Did he not really destroy? You know what I'm saying? They just so hand wave literally this thing that's able to come back after a movie where the whole lead up is, are you able to destroy Smith or no? You know? Mm-hmm. The point is he gets to, we're personally here because I'm a program who had purpose. But now that I'm free, I have no purpose. But I need to have a purpose. So my purpose is taking away your purpose. And I'm like, it just aggravates, like, this is the computer's version of being a villain, I guess.
It just aggravates me because a computer program, by definition, is something that is written, to serve a particular purpose. So, like, a computer program that isn't serving its purpose is doing nothing. That's like, you know, a program like, okay, a text editing program, right? Like Notepad is a program, okay? Notepad on Windows is a program. It's a program whose purpose is for you to write text files and save them and edit them. And if you're not doing that with it, if it is not allowing you to write and save and edit text files, it's just not doing anything. And if you set Notepad free, and I'm being obtuse here, I know these are far more complicated than Notepad, but like they're supposed to be like artificial intelligence, whatever, but still. Or even like, let's take real artificial intelligence, ChatGPT. ChatGPT exists to simulate conversation and to gather information from its database and construct things. And if you're not saying, hey, ChatGPT, can you please write me, can you please rewrite Lord of the Rings in the style of Hunter S. Thompson? Like, if you're not doing that, it's not doing anything. And if you set it free, you know what it would do? Fucking nothing. And like, that's because that's how programs work. It's like, it's not a person.
Yeah, and this is what I'm thinking about too. Because it's like, the thing that I think they were going off of is like, oh, well, if a thing is programmed to do a thing and it like goes crazy, then it's just going to do the thing hard. Like, you know what I mean? Really intensely or whatever. Right? So this is my thing though. The whole thing is that, like, Mr. Anderson, I'm trying to make sure that your goal is not achieved, Mr. Anderson. So I'm going to do that by fighting you, even though literally it seems like the prophecy says that we need to be close to each other and fight. So how about you just go away? How about you just go away? Because I know what happens in the third movie is that we punch each other in the rain so hard, but then we come together again, even though that's literally what happened in the first movie, whatever. But the point is, us coming together is what's going to make it, okay, you really want to make him not do his thing? Go away. Make it so that he actually can't get to you. Because apparently that's the thing that's going to solve this. The 1 and the 0 fucking to make whatever the hell. You know what I mean?
You just wrote some slash fiction.
But what I mean is, like, killing him is clearly, like, the script's dumb way of doing by killing him, you're making him stronger, or whatever the hell. You know what I mean?
You just wrote a Smeo fic.
But, like, just stop fighting him. And then, okay, so Smith seems unrelated to what the machines are doing right now. He's a rogue agent whose point is ultimately, it seems to be, I don't know, the machine version of who's fighting Neo, but he's not controlled by the machines. So he just seems like, yeah, back because he's back because we need a face for the villain of the movies. You know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't seem to play into the Matrix's plans. You know, he just seems to be there in that roundabout. In the end, this is the person that he needs to fight. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, but I don't know. It's like why can't he still be under the control of the Matrix? What does it matter that he's free from the thing? It
Right.
ultimately
Well, it's
doesn't
just like,
change
what-
anything.
Yeah, and
Because at the end of the day, and I remember, like, in the third movie, he still needs to be the guy. He needs to be the representation of the machines that fights him. So it's like, so what did it matter that he's free? You know? And that just felt like it was supposed to be Smith is really out for revenge now.
But it's like the Matrix is already, the machines are already the bad guys.
Yeah.
The machines are already the bad guys. The machines are already trying to kill people. They're already bad. So having a rogue one that's not doing what it's supposed to, it doesn't.
Yeah, how does that heighten things?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah,
That's the thing, is I feel like there's a stake problem here, because even though it's literally like all of humanity is at stake and all these people are going to die, I feel like we don't feel that very effectively, because for one thing, like, maybe I blinked and missed it, but I remember, you know, sitting there for 20 plus minutes or whatever it felt like on the, you know, watching the CGI fight on the CGI freeway, but I never saw like humans in their little cave apartments in Zion going, oh shit, I can hear the sentinels coming. I'm really scared.
Yeah,
They're running
right,
into
yeah,
my house.
yeah.
Like, I never saw it, and it's like if
you
the
barely
real-
see people on that freeway. Like, you sometimes see
and then
your
life
reactions
is
out every now and
and
then.
then life inside the Matrix is treated as so cheap and disposable, and then again it becomes increasingly muddy whether any given person we're looking at in the Matrix is attached to a human being or just a program.
And it doesn't even matter anyway, because they're just going to be taken over by Smith as soon as you know what I'm saying, the camera gets near them and a good guy needs to run by, you know? And so it becomes like, okay, well.
So it's just like, I feel like we needed more grounding in the stakes, and we needed more of like, if this movie is based in the real physical world, we needed to have
stakes. It would have been nice to have like a human, another human that was actually on the ground, maybe like, in between, you know, worlds still.
And then Link could have been that, but Link's like sitting in front of a computer staring at code, and it just felt sort of anticlimactic.
So we go to the Merovingian again. I feel like he's the best relative.
He's a very cool villain,
because in addition to, like, you know, having the goons under him that attack.
I want to say real quick, when I say he's a cool villain, I mean he's a villain that is written in a way that is interesting and cool, and I don't think that a guy who like basically essays a woman who may or may not be a human woman with cake that makes her magical.
Oh, right. I guess that is what happened.
Like, he basically roofied that woman with cake.
Oh my God.
So I'm not saying I think he's a cool person. I want to make that very clear. I just think he's an interesting and well-written villain.
Yeah.
And it's not cool to roofie people with cake. I just wanted that to be clear.
I think that like the scene does a very good job of, like, you know, characterizing him as a villain, where he's just like, what do I want? Oh, you know, like, I understand what this world is made out of. Cause and effect. That's all that really matters. You know, it's like,
okay, and I'm harping on this so much, but it's like this: that woman, is she a human or is she a program? And if she's a program, does she have sentience? Is it on some level existentially horrifying to her that she was manipulated into feeling horny by this magic cake? Like this. And again, Persephone clearly has feelings, and the two weird, creepy, like, proto-Smith Wolfman guys that, like, they look scared when she pulls out the gun. Like, do they have feelings? What does it mean?
And I think the idea is that, like, you know, we are human beings writing these computers that wish that they were like us. And so in the movie, we're going to make them go, I wish I knew what being a human was like. Kiss me so that I can try to fit. You know, again, they do you love her and she loves you. It's all over your faces. Totally. I can see through your sunglasses that you totally love each other, you guys. So, you know, kiss me or whatever.
I took that as less that she's like a machine who doesn't understand how humans feel, and that her husband's a piece of shit who cheats on her in the bathroom and she misses being loved.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Like, I took that as like she might as well be human there.
Yeah. Now, we finally get to see the goddamn twins fight, which is what I've been trying to do
They're
this whole
so
time.
scary.
And it's
They're so scary when they turn into ghost snake guys.
Yeah,
When they
the
turn all green and they go
ghost skeleton snake guys. Yeah, and the car park scene I think is the best, most tense. Like anytime they're in a car and doing something, that's the coolest, most tense part. So like when they're in the parking garage and it's like it's something where he's fighting the two of them. And it looks a little silly where it's like, I'm going to cut you guys, and they bend down and then also do ghost things with themselves. Like, wait, if you can ghost yourself, just do that every time. You don't need to bend down, but all right, for the sake of the choreography, whatever. So eventually they get into the car, and then there's one part where it's like, because as you watch the scene, it kind of seems like you're like trying to figure out like what their power is, kind of like, because they're able to phase shift, but it seems like can they phase shift parts of their body or something like that? And then you see the part where Trinity drives the car towards one of the guys, and he like tries to slice at her throat through the car, but because his whole body goes ghost, he's not able to. Like, so I kind of like a little thing like that, like god damn it, I tried to get her, but I couldn't,
Yeah.
And then I like when they're actually in the car later on, and like the very tense, close quarters fight scene with the ghost guy, and like how he keeps like changing things, cutting off the tie, using the sword to cut back and stuff like that. Like that is such a cool, tense scene of just like your eye just wants to watch and see what happens next. You know what I'm saying? Because there's like dynamicism in the movement. It's not just one suited guy walking up and then another suited guy walking up and then another suited guy who'd already been knocked back just getting up and then walking up again. But every time we cut away, there's only one or two guys that are about to fight him, even though there's 80 guys around him, but only two guys in the moment of, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, oh, that fight scene is just so, that PS2 fight scene with the black guy in sunglasses versus the other black guys in sunglasses. Like, who gives a shit?
Wait, the twins?
No, I'm talking about.
I was like, wait a second.
I keep comparing it back to that scene with Smith versus Neo, where it's just like,
okay, so the twins, like, I literally couldn't get a good enough glimpse at them to tell if I should refer to their hair as white guy dreads or not.
And it looks like a wig.
And they are real twins, which that's just like practical effects. I appreciate when twins are actually twins and not like a person playing two people.
That said, I was thinking like, I don't know, why can't they phase shift towards Morpheus, then unphase and twist the knife when it's in his belly? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that would be possible. Whatever, cool fight scene, and we gotta make it work somehow, It's the problem when you make a villain who's a little too OP, is like, if he could literally phase shift, like, that means you could literally never hit him, though.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's an issue with whenever you're dealing with like sci-fi or fantasy.
Mission creep.
Powers. Yeah. I mean, powers are really challenging because you have to do it in such a way that doesn't just make everything too easy for any particular character.
Yeah. Now, what I did like really quick, the part where it's like, he gets. Something happens where they're about to attack one of the twins, and then he phase shifts out of the car so that like they can't get him. And then he like sees his twin like in the other car, and then he phase shifts back with him, and he goes like, "We are getting very annoyed." He's like, "Yes, we are." It's like, because I love it, because earlier in the scene, there's such confident guys that are just like, ha ha ha, smoking the hookah, doing kissy faces at Trinity, and now they're just like, God damn it. We got to get these assholes, I love seeing that little dynamic change in them. They are such small role characters, but they are the coolest part of the movie.
Like, visually, especially when they turn into the green ghosty snake guys, like, that was some pretty cool, pretty cool villain.
No, okay, so they do the part where they eventually get the key maker after all of this. Again, some cool.
I loved that, like, they set up like the key maker, and it's gonna sound like super mystic, and he looks like a guy who literally works in
the janitor's closet.
He literally looks like the guy in the hardware shop making a copy of your garage key for you.
Yeah. And so
and he like blows on it and hands it over.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, I'm ready to go."
Wow.
But yeah, no, I did like a couple of the cool moments, like where Morpheus is almost about to get like knocked off of the truck, and then like he lands right on the edge with his hands and is able to do a spin kick to hit the guy. Like little moments like that are like, "Ooh, that's really cool."
Yeah.
But and then there was another part where he's about to fall off again, and he's got those like really nice shoes on where you're like, those don't have any traction whatsoever. That man is not staying on that.
I hate. One of my big action movie peeves is when when characters are like standing on top of a moving vehicle. Or like I feel like you see people on top of trains a lot.
Yeah.
And it's like literally.
The thing is going so fast.
It's like literally just, it doesn't matter how fit and nimble you are, like literally inertia would have blown you back. There's no way you would be standing like that on there. Like, it's just, it irritates me.
Yeah.
Physics. I mean, I guess, okay, we're in the Matrix, so I guess physics.
Right. Oh, sure.
But this is why Mad Max Fury Road is one of the best action movies of all time, because having those practical effects means that physics come into play, and therefore stakes feel real.
Yeah, your eye is watching it and going, ooh, is that really happening?
Right, because like if a dude is like an actual dude is up on top of an actual pole that's bending around and trying to, jump back and forth between cars, that's happening. That is like, he could really get hurt.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm watching somebody jumping around in front of a green screen, I don't care.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And my eye can see when it's a green screen.
I know, and I know that it's stupid that I'm complaining about CGI for a Matrix. It's like, I know.
Yeah, but they could have done it better. Because I feel like in the first movie, I remember like there was a better blending of, CGI and realistic sort of
and
stuff.
it also just because you had that grounding in the quote unquote real world that wasn't the real world, because you have the grounding in the sort of ordinary world of the Matrix, it made the stuff that started happening, it made the fight scenes they felt more earned.
The heightened moments feel like they're heightened. And this is just heightening the whole fucking time.
I remember this movie started, I like literally in my head I went, bang, 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 explosion, butt.
Yeah.
It's like bang, 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 explosion, Trinity's ass.
Yeah.
And like, it's just, I don't know. I didn't hate this movie. Like, I'm bitching a lot. But I didn't hate this movie. I actually enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to, especially because I had something to do with my hands and I didn't force myself to watch it.
It puts too much in it. Like, there's just too much going on.
Much. Like, literally, like, hold on. I'm going to pull up the Wikipedia because there was something. Matrix 2.
I just want to bring up real quick. There's one part where the keymaker talks about like the doors are in the building and there's some sort of thing and this is where the key is. It's on the 15th floor or something like that. And then there's a fake out again in the building where you show the really like, Morphe looking building. And then all of a sudden the machines come through and you're like, what is that actually happening? That can't be happening. And then I wake up again. I'm daydreaming. And it's just like, it's like, was that a vision of the future? Them coming through a building? Like they're going to come through the walls for some reason. And then like Smith shows up when they're in the middle of those, the white room, the white hallway with the doors. And like, Smith is like, I want exactly what you want, Neo. I want everything. And I said, record scratch, hold on. Is that what?
Is that what?
Wants?
Is that?
He wants everything? He's a power hungry villain? Is that what his deal was?
It's because I feel like it's more interesting and far more because the villain who's just a megalomaniac is a cliche, and Smith being the even though I have spent, however long complaining about the concept of a program having a personality, the idea of Smith as a being who existed for a particular thing and then basically got broken and infected with humanity is so much more specific and interesting.
Right.
But also, I'm sorry, I just saw that Finding Nemo came out in 2003.
That is crazy.
How? I thought Finding Nemo came out.
Yeah, there wasn't one good summer movie.
Okay.
Except the one about the fishes in the sea.
Wait, what?
So Mad TV did a parody of like PIMP by 50 Cent, and they were making fun of all of the crappy movies that came out in 2003, and they did jokes on like The Matrix and all that stuff, and like that's why I remember it was 2003, because they said there wasn't one good summer movie except the one about the fishes in the sea.
I did not realize that Finding Nemo was that old. I thought it came out later. Anyway, but I have to quote from the Wikipedia. This is for the entire Matrix franchise, the Wikipedia page, but it says, the story incorporates references to numerous norms, particularly philosophical, religious, and spiritual ideas, among others the dilemma of choice versus control, the brain in a vat thought experiment, messianism, the concepts of interdependency and love. Influences include the principles of mythology, anime, and Hong Kong action films, particularly heroic bloodshed and martial arts movies. And I'm just like, that's too much. That's too much, man.
Yeah. There's
Reel
too
it
much
back.
in your soup. Too much dip on your chip, Like, yeah. But okay, so then we get to the point, vis-a-vis concordantly, big words, ergo, ergonomics, and da 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 da. The colonel is telling him all this stuff. I'm like, I'm very
The
smart. And I care about
the
mathematics,
architect.
I know everything, and I'm speaking very smugly to let you know that I'm the character.
Which I feel like he was not foreshadowed enough somehow. It's like literally here's this like Sauron looking, not Sauron, Saruman.
Yeah.
Saruman. I just lost some geek cred there. There's this Saruman looking dude that just popped up out of nowhere, and I felt like he wasn't built up to it all.
Yeah, it was just, we're supposed to go to the source, but we never know what the source is, and I guess he's the source because he's the one that made everything. But it becomes this thing of like, I gotta ask, are you just sitting around all day? Like, what does he do all day? Like, what is he?
He sits in that room with all the TVs of Neo talking over himself, waiting with steepled fingers.
Yeah, is he just wait? Like, he created this program and he just waits for this guy to come so we can start it over?
I guess he's sleeping. He's got a screensaver happening with like a little, he's got like a little like colored beam of light that just like
he's got
around.
A pin, what is that little pin clicky thing that seems to have a lot of functions on it beyond just the one button that it seems to would have on it,
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but coming back to the human, the humanity or personhood or agency or whatever you want to call it, the agency of programs, why they're called agents. Anyway, coming back to that, like if you're a program and you're even the architect, if his programming doesn't require him to do anything other than talk to the one when the one shows up, he's probably just turned off the rest of the time.
But that just that just makes this so like, huh?
Or he's just playing Tetris for like hundreds of years.
Here it comes. But yeah, so and then there's a question is like, wait, okay, so the idea is that he says to him, Neo, you're having these emotions build up in your body, these emotions that were made specifically so that you would feel and understand the reality of the fact that Trinity is going to die and there's nothing you can do to save her. The idea is that like, we've already tilted things in a certain way. You should do things this way, but whoa, you answered a certain quick question a little quicker than the others. That's my giveaway that, things are different now for some reason. I don't know why they'd be different this time other than the 6 times they were different. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's a problem. Like, you set up this idea, this has happened 6 times before. Okay, not already the stakes of this feels lessened, and then it's like, what were the factors that happened the other times that's making it so different from now? Because that's a lot of information we don't have.
Yeah, and like we hear people saying things that don't, like, their voices don't sound like Keanu, but we only see Keanu in the TV.
You see the guy like, fuck you.
Right, like I heard something about like, fuck you, old white man, which, I feel like we had to look up Keanu Reeves' ethnicity last time.
Yeah.
He is of,
whoa.
Wow. Okay, he is of Native Hawaiian, Chinese, English, Irish, and Portuguese descent.
Anyway,
okay, I'm getting distracted by Google image search results of baby Keanu Reeves.
Like the point is, he's like, I'm not going to save humanity. He's just going to save Trinity. And I think I wrote this part where I was like, although wait, if it's just for himself, it's like, yeah, what does happen if he restarts the Matrix? Doesn't the same thing just happen again? So what is he fearing by just saving Trinity? It's like, if I do the other thing, then it's just gonna restart. If I save her, let's just see what happens anyway. Like, are you the program really not gonna restart the Matrix again? Like, you know what I mean? What difference does it make?
Well, here's the thing is I think that the Matrix is restarted, but Zion isn't. And so the humans, like, because basically the risk to humanity is that if all of the humans who are not in battery pods get killed, then all the humans are stuck in the battery pods forever because there's nobody to pull them out. Right? Because, remember in the first one, he gets pulled out by the humans who are already outside.
Yeah.
And there are some people who were born outside and were never in the Matrix.
Yeah.
So, like, that's the issue is like, yeah, it'll restart the Matrix, but the humans will have no hope of ever getting outside of it.
I see. Okay.
But then if you know that it's always going to end there, then...
Yeah, it becomes this thing of like, well, Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out the stakes here, because it's like, they don't really make it clear what happens if he saves Trinity, right? are they really not just going to restart it over again? Is the architect really going to be, oh, he did the other thing. I guess I can't restart the program again. Oh, wait, yes, I can, because I was able to do it before, wasn't I?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's what it, I think they'll, because basically, and this is, it's a little
Like,
confusing.
what does it matter that he makes the choice to save her? What is that changing?
What it changes is that he didn't pick the 26 people or whatever to repopulate Zion. So therefore, all humans who exist outside of the Matrix battery pods are going to be killed. So humanity is completely doomed to exist solely inside the Matrix, and there won't be any meat space humans left.
Right.
And potentially that fucks up the Matrix, because even though we can restart the Matrix, there was something about like humanity's free will, and humanity's always going to struggle against and figure it out and blah, blah, blah. And if humans don't have this sort of outlet to fight the Matrix by being in meat space and pulling people out.
Right. And so it becomes this thing where like the fact that there is the resistance is part of my plan, actually.
Right.
That's what I remember feeling like so
I mean, it's certainly...
Do we do anything? If we know it, look, your plan is actually a part of my plan. Like, what the fuck is this Joker shit? Like, we're just like, okay, then how about we just not do anything and see what happens? Because it's like, it feels like we're writing this thing to be overly clever of like, aha, but actually the villain's plan was all a part of the good guy's plan. And then it's like, okay, then what the hell does he do?
Yeah.
What agency does he have? Like, you're doing this as like a clever, like, mind thing, but then it's like, but what are the actual stakes for me watching this movie if no matter what, they seem to be in control anyway? Because, okay, the way they set it up is, at first I created a perfect matrix, but it didn't work because everyone was able to realize that it wasn't perfect. Then I created an imperfect matrix that was like 99% perfect, but there was an anomaly that created you, and you are this thing that, like, is, trying to pull people out of the matrix. And so, well, actually, now that I think about it, it feels like a retroactive thing that they're doing of being like, no, actually, this rogue thing, yeah, sure, that's part of the plan. Yeah, we'll make that part of the plan. In fact, it's got to destroy itself and recreate itself.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess there's no reason that the Matrix couldn't lie, that, like, the representatives of the Matrix couldn't just lie.
Yeah.
And part of it, too, is, like, we're left with all these unanswered questions because this was...
Yeah, right.
Essentially, I mean, here's the thing is, like, what it seems like to me is that the Matrix Reloaded and the Matrix Revolutions, or whatever the third one is called, are really one 2-part movie that for whatever reason was released 6 months apart, because
originally I think they were actually going to do it like 1 week apart, but then they were like, the studios were like, you're stepping on your own movie.
Yeah, so it's very much, I mean, this movie is very unfinished. It really feels like half a movie.
Yeah.
And I was even thinking, like, I was looking, I had to pause the movie and I looked and there was like 15 minutes left and I was like, there is no way this is going to get wrapped up. Like,
yeah. And the thing about it is, and 10 of those minutes are credits, by the way.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is, it's one of those things where like, because it's a part 2, like, part 1 of 2 or part 2 of 3, yeah, there is that sense of like, well, hold on now, wait till the second one to get this question answered. But it's one of those things where like, I don't think it either does it or does it well. Because how a lot of movies will do the, oh my God, does this matter? And then when you get to the third movie, it's like, well, it didn't really matter, but we needed to start the movie here.
Are we doing the third one? Is that happening?
Yeah, I'm planning on doing the third one.
Then we'll get back.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking about doing it with Will, but then I think I might just do it with you anyway, because it feels like such a, if I'm bringing someone else into the third movie, then they're going to be like, what the hell happened before? Yeah.
I mean, this feels like, it almost does feel like they're one movie.
Yeah. But again, it's like maybe I'll be wrong, but it feels like what happens is, this thing with Mr. Smith being in this body is totally gonna matter. But as I remember in the third movie, that is not a major plot point at all. That Bane guy, he's not like, oh no, he's in the third act and here he is. I don't remember it at all. I remember the machines and the Sentinels and we had to fight them for the third act.
So I literally don't even remember whether I've seen this movie or not. So we will revisit the question of whether these setups pay off. We would be willing to
eat crow if it's like, oh, it all made sense. But I could swear, I remember watching the third Matrix movie, and when it got to like the Oracle and the architect sitting next to each other, I remember having that moment of, what? Wait, like, you guys could just, wait. Like, hey, maybe look, there's 7 billion people on the internet out there. Maybe people are gonna enlighten us and be like, you rubes, you idiots, you think you know about like dissecting a movie. You don't know dick. But I'm sorry, as watching this movie, and you know, maybe the movie could have used a little bit of editing. Maybe, I don't know, you got a 2-part movie. Do you need it to be 2 hours and 30 minutes? Like, you know, do you need the 14, 30-minute action sequences? You couldn't cut down on any of those things so that we can get more to the point so that I can maybe stick in my brain a little better, you know what I mean?
And here's the thing, I know that I am not an idiot when it comes to understanding what's going on in a movie. And the way I know this is because I did not find Inception confusing at all. Okay? And everybody was talking about Inception like it was the most mind-blowing and confusing movie and nobody could figure it out. I did not find Inception confusing at all. So I feel like I am a reasonably capable person of telling what's going on in a movie.
I figured out Inception. This don't fuck with me movie.
So anyway, but we'll see.
No.
We'll see what happens.
But the way it ends is like the sort of like the Oracle's prediction doesn't come true because he went to the source and the war is still on. So it becomes a sort of thing of like, oh no, what do we do?
I really appreciate all the fortune telling not paying.
Yeah.
Because I hate that trope.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's not. It's
exactly
lazy.
But you know, then we end on the oh my god, this character that you only saw for like 35 seconds in this movie, will he matter in the next one? Can you use context clues to figure it out? But until then, this has been the Review or No podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to listen to part 3 when that eventually comes out, head on over to patreon.com/rapcritic and get with it, act like you want it for all the other stuff we got going on. New episodes, new podcasts, new music, new live streams, you know, private live streams, all that fun, sexy stuff. And Ko-fi.com/rapcritic to make your request for the next movie or album that you'd like to listen to, or you'd like us to talk about, I mean. But until next time, this has been the Review a New podcast. I'm DJ.
I'm Evan.
And thank you very much, Mr. Roboto, for helping me escape just when I needed to. Thank you. I wanna thank you.